I'm glad that we're talking about this subject now because I know it's kind of a hot button issue. So let me go back and just talk a little bit about the history of the non-resident off-highway vehicle permit and lay out everything so you have a history, and then I'll talk about this passage of the 2019 legislative session, House Bill 105. So about 22 to 23 years ago, Utah went with a non-resident off-highway vehicle permit. That included snowmobiles, ATVs, motorcycles, and just the cusp of the very beginning of, well, I should say dune buggies, etc. We weren't in that UTV world. At that time when that bill was first introduced and approved and passed by the legislature, the fee was $30. So it hasn't changed in 22 plus years. As directed in that original legislation, the division was asked to go through on an annual basis to check with the other 49 states for reciprocity with those other states. We do that annually. So over the years, other states that have bordered us, one example is Colorado. They had a sunset law that they did not renew. So it expired about 5-6 years ago. So we no longer have reciprocity with Colorado because they charge Utah residents to come to Colorado. There's language in there that says if there's a government-sponsored event, that allows during that event time frame, there's no requirement to purchase the non-resident permit. No requirement whatsoever. It allows people to come in, spend money, enjoy the trail system, be guided with that particular time frame of the event. Now, if they show up a day before and they ride on the trails, they have to purchase the non-resident permit. If they stay 2 days later and they ride after the event, they have to purchase the non-resident permit, depending upon their state. Over the years, we've gotten to a point where we have 36 states that we no longer acknowledge reciprocity with. We average about 2 states a year that states no longer say that they want to be reciprocal with Utah. We receive anywhere from 2 to 3 phone calls a day about non-residents. Even residents that know that they need to purchase the permit, they still want to call and talk and confirm. They want to speak to that human being, even though they may read on the flyer that we don't have reciprocity with New York or Oklahoma. They still want to hear that. We still get emails along the same lines, and so we try to address those. The complicating thing is the general public. The general public, us within, they're visiting from outside the state, and those of us that leave Utah to ride in other states, it's complicated. So I'll run one example just of how complicated this can be. Idaho. Do you think you have to have the non-resident permit to ride a snowmobile in Idaho? Yes, you do. Got to have the permit. What about your ATV? Anyone want to take a shot? No, you don't, but not quite. If you're riding on an Idaho trail, you don't have to have the non-resident permit. It's when you ride from a community, such as Beaver, to tap into a trail on a county road, then you have to have the non-resident permit. It gets even better. If you have a street legal plate, and I don't want to get into street legal just yet, then you got to purchase the street legal permit in order to operate on top of the trail permit. So it's very, very confusing with each one of the states. I'm not here to defend or to condone or to support what other states do. I'm here to look at what Utah can offer and what we have in our 80,000 miles of off-highway vehicle trails. And so I want to kind of keep that directed in Utah. So last year, we sold close to 18,000 permits, the same number in 2017. So we don't sell a lot of non-resident permits. People say, hey, you're looking at trying to get money, generate money, and it's only about $500,000 is really what it boils down to. But once again, it's trying to simplify for the public, simplify for our own people, and still address and bring residents from outside the state to come and ride our trail system. We've gotten popular, folks. Our trail systems are extremely popular. We've done such a good job that people want to come here. And so along those lines, you might say, well, what are some of those states that are bordering us? What do they purchase? So Colorado, we talked a little bit about Colorado. Out of the 18,000 permits, they bought 8,000. That's a pretty good chunk of non-resident permits. Guess where they all ride? Moab, the Swell, Green River area. Nevada, another bordering state. They have registration in their state. We actually have reciprocity with Nevada currently. So in 2018, we sold about 2,300 permits to Nevada residents. Bulk of the whole of the Nevada residents, ironically enough, they're secondary property owners right here in Utah. They just leave their machines here in Utah and they buy the $30 non-resident permit because they know what Utah has to offer. And they really enjoy riding our trails. And they see what the funding can do. They see that it goes back into infrastructure, trail maintenance, maps, kiosk structures, restroom facilities, all of those items outlined through our own Utah resident registration. Wyoming, another bordering state. We sold almost 2,000 permits there, just to Wyoming residents. So Idaho, we sold over 400 permits last year in 2018. Arizona, ironically, one of those that is a bordering state. We sold 300 permits to Arizona residents. And then New Mexico, a little more than 100. That equated to about 13,000 of the 18,000 permits, just on our bordering states alone. I understand that, you know, people are upset over this and that they're struggling to understand, and I can't control what obviously other states do, but what I have to do and what I've been charged with is to be a steward of the citizens of Utah and to try to represent the off-highway vehicle program collectively as a whole. Were there some losers in House Bill 105? Yeah, let's be honest. But look at the big picture. Is it going to simplify the visitors coming from outside the state? Has it taken away anything of the tourism dollars during those events that they would come in and participate in? In addition to that, I'd come back and say it's not about the money, because it's only probably at the most going to generate $250,000 a year. And that's a high estimate. And now to put that in layman's terms, what does that mean? That's one 5-year agreement with the U.S. Forest Service on the Fish Lake for trail maintenance on the Paiute Trail. A lot of people come and visit the Paiute Trail. So that's one of those trail systems that our program will always help fund and assist with. House Bill 105, beginning January 1st of 2020, what it does is it just removes the reciprocity with every state. So all 49 states, we no longer have reciprocity with those. And the permit is $30 from the month of purchase. So that's in a nutshell, that's what House Bill 105 did this year. We're just saying, if you're going to come ride to Utah, it's going to be $30 for a year for a permit. It's about trying to simplify and keep things simple. And maybe we overthought this, because I'm hoping to keep Utah very, very simple.
Chris, I'm talking, so I won't try. But first of all, I want to apologize because we weren't on the ball during the legislature. We should have been aware of what was going on, and we weren't. It would have been nice now at the southern end of Utah could have had a conversation about this before it got passed by the legislature. Our club is the Utah Arizona ATV Club. Tri-state is Nevada, Utah, Arizona. Being a good neighbor, having a cooperative relationship is extremely important to us. That goes away with 105. Before we worked things out on the Arizona Strip, it was a mess. People were getting stopped by rangers, said they couldn't do this, they couldn't do that. We've enjoyed reciprocity for about 10 years now. It's been great. And so I got a call from Arizona concerned about this. That's why I called Chris. So come September, and Arizona isn't a good neighbor either. Arizona in 2018 ended reciprocity with Utah, but they couldn't get the stickers printed up, so it doesn't go into effect to September. But between Arizona and canceling reciprocity, Utah canceling reciprocity, doing away with a good neighbor situation, come September, everybody in southern Utah that uses Arizona Strip as their backyard is going to have to pay $25 annually. So in part, 105 is costing all of us in the southern part of the state $25 additional dollars. Seems like us as ATV advocates get hit with additional funding, whether it's search and rescue, brain research, out of state fees. It seems like every year we get hit with something. I'm paying $104 for my 10-year-old Grizzly, paying $105 for my street legal. And when I proposed and wrote the core draft of the street legal bill, state parks wasn't going to support it because they weren't going to get the funding.
Correct.
I said, let's do dual fees.
Yeah.
So I've been a proponent of OHV funding all along. But there's a federal reciprocity that allows us to travel across our country without a bunch of hassle from little entities all along the way. I would like to see Utah OHV reciprocity move in that direction where it makes life easier for us as OHV enthusiasts. And I know it's simpler for Chris to just put an off-road sticker from out of state. That's not complicated. It's complicated to deal with reciprocity and negotiating with other states. But I think that's the role that we should embrace. You know, I agree with you. Right now we have reciprocity with 13 states. If I wanted to load up my rig and tour the West, I'd have to have 13 fees and 13 stickers. If I want to, with reciprocity, I wouldn't have to have any of that, generally. There's some nuances I know with Idaho.
Yeah.
It's complicated, but I just think a cooperative environment, reciprocity is good for us as an OHV community, makes life a little harder for Chris. I don't know if it's about the funding or not. It's either about the funding or it's about the complexity of negotiating reciprocity. I don't know what else it could be but those two. And with the funding, I proposed that we approach the legislature about off-road permit program for bicyclists. You got mountain bikes, you got gravel bikes, you got fat tire bikes, you got e-bikes. I'm a mountain bike enthusiast. I have 4 of them. I would rather pay $15 to $25 for my mountain bikes than have ATV reciprocity go away. That's as strong as I feel about it.